This video lesson deals with the midpoint of a line. When we are talking about the midpoint of a line, we're talking about the point that divides any line segment into two equal parts. So for example, we have a line here. The points on the end, the points at either end of the line are the end points, and the midpoint would be the point that is exactly in the middle, that cuts the line in half. So we will be talking about coordinates for each one of these points. So this would be, say, my x1, y1. This other end point would be my x2, y2. And in the middle here, it would be my midpoint. So xm, ym. So if this is a midpoint, that means that the distance from the end to the midpoint is equal to the distance from this end to the midpoint. The length of each half of the line are the same. The formula for finding the midpoint is expressed here. So xm represents midpoint, m for midpoint. It's the formula x1 plus x2 divided by 2. And then to find the y coordinate for the midpoint, ym, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. You might also see it expressed like over here where we have put the coordinates together, but it's essentially the same thing. So this is my xm formula. I put it in here for the coordinate. This is the ym formula. I put it in here for the coordinate. It's the same thing. But you will probably find it easier using this, finding the x separately and then finding the y separately. Then you'll put them together and write them as a coordinate when you write your answer. Let's illustrate with an example. In this example, we're asked to find the midpoint of the line below here on the graph and label the m, that means the midpoint, label on the graph. So the first thing we need here is we need to find what are the endpoints of my graph. So we need to find these coordinates. Well, this coordinate here is 4, 1. This coordinate, -3, 4. Remember, it's always x first and then y. So we need to find the midpoint. We're going to use our midpoint formula. So the formula for the x coordinate of the midpoint, xm, is x1 plus x2, divided by 2. So I need to decide which one is x1 and which one is x2. It doesn't really matter which one you choose, so I'll pick this as x1, y1, and this one is x2, y2. So I'm doing -3 plus 4 divided by 2. -3 plus 4 is 1 divided by 2, so that gives us 0.5. That will be the x coordinate of my midpoint. Now I find the y coordinate of my midpoint. Again, it's y1 plus y2 divided by 2. My y1 is 4. My y2 is 1, so I'm adding them together, divide by 2. That gives us 5 divided by 2, and if we put it as a decimal, it gives us 2.5. So my midpoint, I'm going to write that here. I have to write the answer as a coordinate. I can't leave the answer just like that. You must write it as a coordinate. Well, the midpoint is for x 0.5 and for y 2.5. And the last thing this question asks us to do was to graph that. So 2.5 on the x, 0.5 on the x is between the 0 and the 1, so it's here. 2.5 on the y is here, so they're going to cross right about there. That's our midpoint. So we'll put a point there. We'll label it m for our midpoint, and we'll write the coordinates, 0.5 and 2.5. This next example is going to have you applying how to find the midpoint in a different type of problem. So we're told a circle has a diameter whose endpoints are at -4, 10 and 3, 6. So these are already indicated on your diagram here. You could have been given this question, however, without a diagram. In that case, you would have had to draw it. So the diameter would be the line connecting these 2 points. My diagram is not quite to scale, but you get the idea. You're asked to find the center of the circle. The center, remember, is in the middle of the diameter. So you basically need to find the midpoint of this line between these 2 points. Please pause the video now and try finding the midpoint between these 2 points. Please show all your work and try to find the answer. Pause the video, please. So you should have gotten that the midpoint, or the center of the circle, is negative 0.5 and 8. If you didn't get that, go back and check your work again, and then make sure to ask me in class for clarification. Now let's go on to our last example. Given M, which has coordinates 1, negative 2, is the midpoint of segment AB. Determine the coordinates of B if the coordinates of A are negative 3 and 4. So what we're given here is that we're given the midpoint. So this is my XM and this is my YM. And we're given one of the endpoints, say X1 and Y1. And we need to find the coordinates of the other endpoint. That would be my X2, Y2. You don't have to draw a graph or draw a picture for this, but it might help you, so I'll plot the points. So A is at negative 3, 4, that's here. I'll label it as A, negative 3 and 4. My M is at 1, negative 2. There's my midpoint. So this is halfway between A and B. My midpoint's halfway, so B is somewhere over here, but we don't know where. So we're going to find what the coordinates are. So I'm going to use my formula, my midpoint formula, xm equals x1 plus y1 divided by 2. The difference is now I'm putting in my xm. I know my xm is 1. I know the x1 is negative 3. I don't know the x2. Oh, whoops, I made a mistake here. Sorry, that was x2. And I divided by 2. Now I need to solve for this. I need to solve for x2. I need to isolate it. So to isolate x2, I'm going to first multiply both sides by 2 so that this cancels. So now I have 2 equals negative 3 plus x2. To get the x by itself, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So I have x2 is equal to 5. Now I'll do the same for y. So my ym equals y1 plus y2 divided by 2. My ym is given as the midpoint is negative 2. My y1 is 4. My y2 I don't know. I'm trying to find it. Divide by 2. Now, like the last example, multiply both sides by 2. So I have negative 4 equals 4 plus y2. So these two have canceled. And then to get y2 by itself, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So my y2 equals negative 8. So that means that my coordinate B, or the coordinates of B, are 5, negative 8. So if we go back to our graph, 5, negative 8 would be down here somewhere, more or less. So that makes sense. All right, so the last thing now is going to be your secret question. I'm running out of space here, so I'm going to write it here off to the side. You're given 2 points, the end points of a line. End points are 2, 4, and 1, negative 3. Find the midpoint. I want to see all your work, please. Make sure to show it all complete in class to have a complete homework assignment.